Welcome back into Ben Talks Utah Hockey. I'm Ben, your host for the podcast on everything on the Utah Hockey Club. From game previews and post-game breakdowns to player highlights, stats, and storylines, this podcast is your ultimate guide for Utah's newest hockey team. We'll dive into the big moments, the key plays, and the rising stars who are putting Utah hockey on the map. Whether you're a lifelong hockey fan or a newcomer to the sport, or you're just curious about Utah's growing hockey community, this is the place to be. So lace up your skates, grab your stick, join me as we hit the ice and talk all things Utah hockey. And with that, let's get into it. We're coming at you tonight with a post-game review. Dallas Stars at the Utah Hockey Club, December 23rd, 2024. So coming in, this one's a big game, 2 points on the line, and a look at the wild card spot in the Western Conference. Utah coming in with a 16-11-6 record, being 5-5-4 at home. Dallas coming in with a 19-13-0 record, being 6-8-0 on the road. So Karel Vejmelka, he gets the start tonight for Utah in net, coming in with a 2.29 goals against average and a 918 save percentage on the season. And for the Stars, Casey DeSmith gets the start in net, and he got the previous win in the game against Utah, so he looks to do that again tonight. And right off the bat in the first period, on the first shift, Lawson Krause gets a penalty for slashing. They kill it off nicely with some good saves from Vejmelka and some block shots from Cole and Sergachev. Later on in the period, Colin Blackwell scores for the Stars midway through the period, and Valimaki had his pocket picked in neutral ice. That led to a 2-on-1 chance, and Blackwell buries a wrister into the top corner, making it 1-0 for the Stars. And like I said, that came midway through the first. But shortly thereafter, Stenlund answers the Stars back quickly. He scores on a clapper from Ian Cole as he steps in right across the blue line on the rush, and Stenlund gets a nice tip in on the screen in front of the net. Carconi and Cole got the assists on that one, and we see the fourth line forwards really stepping up and getting Utah back into the game to tie it up 1-1. After that, the Stars, they take a penalty on another Utah scoring chance. So this will be Utah's first chance at the power play in this game, but they can't get anything to come from it. Towards the end of the period, Michelli, he gets a nice pass from Nick Bukestad on the rush, but DeSmith denies him. It's been a story with the third line. They're struggling to get the offense going. Tonight they looked okay. They definitely had the effort, but the last few games they just haven't got one to go. And you really want to see that third line producing at this point. I think they need that. So we head into the second period. Shots being 10-9 in favor of Utah with a score of 1-1 after that first period. Stenlund. Before I get into the second period, just a couple of notes on that. Stenlund, he stays hot in the month of December, so he gets his sixth goal of the month. Both teams were getting their chances in the first, but both the goalies looked pretty sharp there in the first period, even though they each let in one. Tough goal for DeSmith on the Stenlund tip. He was screening him pretty well and had a nice tip. And then on Vejmelka, really wasn't much he could do. It was a 2-on-1, and Blackwell just sniped it, so not much he could do there. It wasn't really a breakdown on his part, more so on the defensive side. So heading into the second period, the physical side of the game starts to pick up here, and we only saw about a handful of hits in that first period from both teams. But at the start of the second, both squads are finishing checks and pressuring more to start this period. We get a hooking penalty on Clayton Keller. He gets the hands in on Blackwell, the goal scorer in the first, and Utah ends up killing that one off. So good kill from the penalty killing unit. But shortly thereafter, Dallas scores on a misplay by Kesselring at the blue line. Rupe hints. He roofs one over the top of Vejmelka on a pass from Bork and Robertson. And that's one of the moments that you would like to see Kesselring pull back and not pinch and take that chance on that defensive play there, on that 50-50 puck. That's just one area of his game that I've noticed has need improvement here as the season kind of goes on. And he's a good defenseman. He's a young defenseman, but he has been struggling to just figure out his timing and when and when not to pinch on those plays. So just one little thing I noticed there about Kesselring. But shortly after that, Dallas goes down on the penalty. They hook Cooley. Marchment hooks Cooley to put Utah back on the power play, but Dallas does a good job and kills that one off. And after that, towards the end of the second period, Jamie Benn scores on a goal assisted by Wyatt Johnston and gives Dallas a 2-goal lead heading into the third period. Dallas really controlled this second period. Utah came out flat and really couldn't get a ton going here in that second period. Shots being 26-17 in favor of Dallas. They just got a bunch of good looks that period. Utah was careless with the puck in the defensive and neutral zones. They weren't protecting it well. Dallas was pressuring from the start and beating Utah to those loose pucks, playing with a little bit more urgency and pace than Utah was. I do think Vejmelka was playing well considering, and DeSmith, on the other end, he wasn't really tested that much by Utah in this period. So getting into the third period, 5 minutes in, Logan Cooley takes a hooking penalty in the offensive zone. He was aggressive into the corner, and I didn't think it was a great call by the official. But needless to say, Cooley goes into the box for 2 minutes. In that penalty kill, Kerfoot, he gets sprung on a shorthanded breakaway, but he loses the puck as he looks up to shoot it right in front of the net and lost control on the breakaway. And they do end up killing the penalty off. So either way, you'd like to see Kerfoot get a shot off there, anything, and maybe get a rebound. You know, he had a wide open breakaway and he just lost the control on the puck. But we do kill the penalty off. Later on in the period, Blackwell, he had a good game tonight. He seems like the announcers were calling his name all night. But Blackwell, he runs into Karel Vejmelka on a rush chance, and Sergachev kind of gave him a shove, but Blackwell, he should have had more control going into the crease there, and he kind of runs Vejmelka over, and the broadcast team thought it should be a penalty. Taking a second look at it, I would have to agree with them. Refs kind of missed a few calls tonight, I think both ways. They missed too many men for Utah penalty tonight in the third period, and Dallas wasn't too happy about that. But I do think that the officials, there weren't that many penalties called tonight, but there could have been more. Not saying that I like to see a ton of penalties called, but I do think there were a couple that they missed out there, and I think that's true of any game, but just a little bit more of a lax night from the officials in terms of calling those what some would say would be ticky-tack penalties, but needless to say, I digress. Later on, Hayton, in midway through the period, Hayton scores on a tip shot from Schmaltz and a pass from Keller. So that's back-to-back games for goals with Hayton, which is nice to see. Nice to see that for him. He was really struggling there through the the early part of the season after getting a few goals in the start. And so that's back-to-back games for goals with him. And both goals for Utah tonight have been off screens and tips. And on that goal, Keller continues his point streak as well. Keller showing up on the score sheet a lot as of late. And Towards the end of the period, about 2 minutes left to go, Utah pulls Vejmelka for the extra attacker. Um, Dallas plays pretty conservatively and just tries to chip the puck out of the zone. They're not trying to score necessarily on the empty net. They're just trying to get the puck out of the zone, and they do a good job, and they close out Utah to get the 3-2 win in the Delta Center in front of that home crowd tonight. And yeah, shots ended up being 30-25 in favor of Dallas. Utah falls after this game. They fall down to 16, 12, and 6, while Dallas improves to 20, 13, and 0. Yeah, just a second game on a back-to-back that, I thought going into this one, I thought I didn't, in my own head, I guess I just wasn't favoring Utah, which I know is maybe that's a bad thing to say, but I think that's just the reality of a back-to-back when you have an emotional night the game before, one that goes into overtime and eventually a shootout. It's a tough couple losses. They don't get any points in this matchup, so Dallas sneaking up into that wild card playoff spot, and Utah just broadcast said it. Team said it the best, just a sour taste in your mouth after the last two games. They do get the point versus the Ducks in that overtime loss, but nothing tonight. They came out flat in that second period. They really did. They had a decent first period. Both teams kind of showing some life there. Dallas coming into this game having fresh legs, not having played in a couple days. Utah in that second game of the back-to-back. And I just thought they came out hot in the first, both teams, and then Dallas just kind of took it over in the second. Midway through the third period, though, I thought, okay, momentum swinging back into Utah's favor here a little bit. They get that goal from Hayton, and they had their chances there at the end of the game, but it's just a little too late, and that's my big post game thought after this one is no points in the win column, but can Utah put a complete game together on a consistent basis night to night? And that's just been my big question is, I've said it earlier in previous shows, but they're learning how to win, which means you have to fail a lot to learn how to win. And I think this is one of those nights where they had turnovers, and Dallas is a team you just can't give the puck to on a rush chance. They have a great rush offense. They really spread you out and make it tough on your goaltender, and you just can't give them those chances. I thought Utah had too many turnovers tonight, too many miscues, mistimed defensive pinches, and miscalculated pinches as well. Just meaning that defensemen are trying to play a loose puck, a 50-50 puck, and in the neutral zone or in the offensive zone, and then they get burned, and they give up an odd man rush on the other end. So just think a little bit too much of that tonight. I also thought Utah's shooters weren't getting it done tonight. Guys like Gunther, guys like Logan Cooley, and guys like Clayton Keller. We do see Keller get on the board with an assist, but both those goals coming off of tip shots on screens, and I think that was working tonight, getting in front of Casey DeSmith and making it tough for him to even see the puck. I think they needed to kind of look for that, but there really wasn't. Dallas didn't give them a ton of space tonight either. They forechecked well up until that third period, middle to end of that third period. They forechecked really well. They pressured Utah in their offensive zone, while Utah just had too many turnovers tonight. I really thought that was a huge key to the game. They didn't take too many penalties. There were only, like I said, there were only a few penalties taken tonight. Let's see. Utah had Utah had 2 penalties. Dallas had 2 penalties. So um, 0 for 2 on both those power plays, and both ways. Neither team capitalized on the power play tonight. So let's see, and I have a couple more notes here. Yeah, honestly, I think that's pretty much it. You just I said it in the previous episode after that Ducks game, and I said that game's going to be a turning point. And it's looking like it's kind of a more of a downward turn, but it's hard to say because we're we're only one game after that. But Utah gets a nice little break here for the Christmas holiday. They get 3 days off before they hit the road, and maybe just getting a little rest, getting a little family time will help make them come back in to next week with just a new perspective, fresh body, fresh mind, and just kind of shake off those two previous losses that they just had. So we'll see what they can do to turn it around. Um, you'd like to see you'd just like to see them put together a complete game. I don't know what else to say. Just it's tough when you're a fan and you're also doing this podcast and you have to talk about it. It's what more can you say? They came out flat in that second and just flatlined until the middle of the third and then woke up again. They just took a little nap and reminiscent of earlier in the season and even days of gone back in Arizona. Just you don't want to see them revert back to the team they were in the early part of the season. So hopefully they can come back and put together a nice little road streak again, like they have been doing on the road coming into these last two games. So you'd like to see them go back out on the road, put a couple wins together, get some points in the win column, and start scoring some more goals. Like I said, they've been playing. Their goaltending has been good. I mean, Vejmelka didn't have his best night, but he didn't play bad at all. I mean, he stopped pucks when he needed to. I thought he kept Utah in that game. He gave his guys a good chance to win the game. Unfortunately, his defense kind of let him down on just a couple of plays, and I've talked about it in episodes before. Good teams are going to capitalize on your miscues and your misplays. So Dallas did that tonight. But yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. We'll see if that defensive core can kind of shake it off a little bit and kind of come into the next ones with a different mindset and just a little bit better timing on their decision making, a little bit quicker on the decision making. And I think that's going to happen with some of the young guys that they've got on defense. We saw that with Valimaki and Kesselring tonight, just pinching when they shouldn't be, when they need to just fall back, play some defense, let the goaltender do his job, and try to get the puck cleared out of the zone. So we'll see if they can do that in the next couple games. I think that's a real sticking point for me is, yeah, just a little bit better defensive play and decision making, and we'll see if they can get that done. But I think that's gonna do it for tonight. Look for in the next, I think tomorrow or on Christmas Day, I'm gonna do another episode on my stars of the week from this previous week. It'll be more like a 8 or 9 day. A little bit more than a week, but my stars of the past week in the past few games. I'm just going to highlight a couple players, some good things that I saw, and we'll go from there. We'll be doing another pregame for the game on the 27th and post after that as well. So lots of content going to be coming up for you over the holidays. So if you want to get the family together and listen to the podcast down by the Christmas tree or whatever holidays you're celebrating this year. I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. This is Ben Talks Utah Hockey.